What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction Videos comp, and
the Leather Bootman.
And today we're talking
The Walking Dead Season 7 premiere, The Queefing Dead, we call it.
Yes. The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. Directed by Greg Nicotero. Starring Andrew Lincoln, Norman Reedus, Stephen Yeun, Lauren Cohan, Chandler Riggs, Danai Gurira, Melissa McBride wasn't in this episode. Oh, a bunch of people. Sonequa Martin Green, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. So, let me see. Having been brutally overpowered by Negan and his gang of saviors, Rick and his group kneel helplessly as they suffer a heavy loss, leaving everyone traumatized.
Oh, wow.
This is the big...
this is the long-awaited... Yes.
Big reveal of who Negan kills in the Season 7 first episode of The Walking Dead.
If you haven't seen it yet, don't listen to this. Although I can't imagine why you would listen to this.
I'm pretty sure it's been spoiled everywhere. Just coming back from last Season 6, the season finale, which had a big fuck you to everybody. And I think I was pretty upset. You weren't upset by the season finale.
I wasn't as upset as everyone else was. I understand why they would do that.
Were you used to The Walking Dead's devilish tricks of fucking over their viewers with their stupid...
It's not fucking over. It's creating suspense.
I guess. But I know my problem was that I'm used to series, like seasons of television shows having an arc and an ending each season. So for that to kind of happen here, it was sort of annoying to me. Because I knew what was happening.
Look at you.
How dare you? So anyway, the way Season 6 ended, obviously the introduction of Negan, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. As a person who actually reads the comic, I actually still read the comic now. Danny stopped after the issue that this is based on, which was issue 100.
Yeah, it really upset me.
And it messed him up so bad that he got mad about a fictional comic book.
I cried, I was shaking, I couldn't eat for 8 years.
But this led up to Negan's introduction. They were talking about him the whole season in third character, or they were just mentioning him. The other characters were, even to the point that other characters were calling themselves Negan, and they would just get off pretty quickly, even though they really weren't Negan. So Negan in the comic books is the leader of the Saviors, which is a bunch of guys that have a stronghold over two little towns. I think one of the towns are in this. One of the little cities is actually mentioned in this last season, as well as in the comic book. Negan in the comic book is sort of he looks like Superman. He has that sort of Superman build, like Shazam even. More he has more of a Shazam look to him, which means that he's this sort of.
But I guess it looks like him.
Shazam looks like Negan. But Negan has this biker sort of jacket on. He runs around with a baseball bat called Lucille. He's foul-mouthed. And, of course, on AMC, on television, where you can see a man's eyeball falling out of his face, he can't say the word fuck. But they can show, all that heinous shit that happened to these characters, but they can't curse. That still
they can say the word. They can say the word asshole, though.
They can't. Yeah, they say that in shit. They can say those two words. Which was funny because remember that season where Rick says they don't know who they're screwing with because he was like pissed off. It was. I remember that was on a season finale. I think that might have been season finale for number 4 or like one of those half seasons. Because in the comic he clearly says they don't know who they're fucking with. And instead of like Breaking Bad, you know what Breaking Bad did? They cursed, but they just muted it, so you knew the guy cursed. But they muted it out because, it's adults watching the show.
Imagine it's like, they don't know who they're freaking with.
And it's clearly a different guy's voice. That's besides the point. But anyway, so Negan, I wasn't so ready to jump into how he looked in the show version. Obviously, there's differences in how
I think it looks great.
He's a little too thin for me, and he's got facial hair, which throws me off. But I think he was in a play, the actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, during the time of the shooting, so that's why he had the facial hair. And for me, he's a little too thin for the role, but I think maybe that was also because of the play itself.
He's also not a comic book, so he's like not able to have the build of that character.
Right. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan was playing the comedian in the Watchmen movie, so he's able to have a muscular build. So
And he's also
he could be big.
he's in that the Jewish demon movie. I forget what it's called, but we reviewed it.
Okay, very good.
You know what I'm talking about, right? With
I know. The Possession.
The
Possession, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So anyway, and so since you didn't really get to know about his personality, you just knew him as like this kind of foul-mouthed asshole in the comic book. You only saw him for like one issue, since you didn't see the rest of it. So I've actually gotten to read the whole arc of his character and what's going on in the comic book now. And it is sort of similar, but it's so funny because in the comic book you're able to be like, wow, he's a piece of shit. Obviously, what he does in the comic, he kills Glenn in the comic book. He bashes him over the head, kills him.
Yeah.
In the TV show, he does it to Abraham and Glenn, and he's a lot more of a bastard in the TV show. Like I guess it's the inflection of how you read the comic book itself and how you watch the show and how he's portrayed in the show.
Yeah, well, we care way more about.
And he is
TV.
He's actually a bit similar to the comic. It's just not, if you don't read the comic and you're just sort of like, whoa, this guy's just a super piece of shit, and that's how he is. And he's sort of a guy who says, you gotta dispense justice as you see it, because he sees these guys, they came in and they killed his men, he's gonna take it out on them, and he's pretty...
He's who I would want to be in the post-apocalyptic world.
You want to kill white men and Asians, I understand that.
Yes.
So he is pretty, I guess, similar to how he is in the comic book, character-wise. What's weird is in the comic book, he's gone beyond. They've gotten way deeper into his comic book, as they've even had his origin and like some extra comic book stuff, like some spin-off comics.
Oh, really?
And I was still always like just tired. I was like, just fucking kill Negan, or just kill his character. So who gives a shit about him anymore? But I guess he's a fan favorite in the comic book, just because he's an antagonist.
I'm surprised he's still alive. Honestly.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do that angle where they're trying to push him over to the good side, sort of thing. You know how like. I don't know which other characters were there any really bad characters in the show that turned good in this? No, they kind of just killed them in The Walking Dead, the TV show.
They tried to do that with the governor, but it didn't.
Yeah, the closest they did it was with Daryl, but he was never really evil. It was him and his brother, and shit like that.
Even his brother was kind of good in the end.
But there was one thing recently in the comic book that actually made me like his character, Negan. But it might go against what he's done in the past, because in the comic book he's like. He takes like many wives and shit. I don't think he rapes anybody, but I think he's like takes many women. He takes like his guys' women, and then like if they try to leave with them, he'll melt their face, like what he did with this asshole, the guy who
Dwight,
who is much more of a bastard in the TV show than he is in the comic book. Although he is still a bastard in the comic book. In the comic book, he actually killed Abraham. Dwight killed Abraham, and they switched Abraham with Denise, I think. That girl with the glasses.
I thought Abraham got like sniper arrowed through the face like way earlier.
That's what I'm saying. Dwight killed Abraham in the face, like with the arrow.
Oh,
that's
Dwight
what I'm saying.
They
switched they switched it.
Okay.
And in the comic, it's obviously that happens a while before, and they switched here. Whatever, that doesn't matter. So in the TV show, now how did you think they dealt with making it as believable to the comic book, or was it worth the wait, this episode?
I wasn't upset with the way it cut off. I mean, obviously, they're teasing us and shit, but like everybody was like so angry about it. Like, I don't understand that. What do you want them to do? It's a friggin' TV show.
I think it's just... I think it was just people's being upset with the fact that they were sort of promised a revelation, and then it just doesn't happen. Because I remember this saying, find out who he kills, and then see you in 6 months, sort of that thing.
Yeah, but
I think
in any case, it was just like, oh, come on, like it wasn't
but
like I'm angry.
There's so many people now talking about the show saying, oh, it's gone beyond the pale, it's disgusting, it's just don't watch it anymore.
I saw an article saying they're trying to get some parent group is trying to get AMC out of the cable bundle because it's
so ridiculous.
Like, why are little kids watching a post-apocalyptic show about zombies?
Yeah, do you know how horrible other characters have been killed? You know what I mean? So many times have been killed. They even fake killed Glenn, and remember how many people were bitching about it, saying, "Oh, we won't watch it anymore." When he he hid under the dumpster, and then people were saying in this. I read somewhere they were like, "Oh no, he's just hiding under Negan's bat. He's okay." But it's like, come on, grow the fuck up. It's a show about zombies and violence. You're lucky
it's
you
a
don't get to see
horror.
anything.
It's a horror show. Like
It's a horror show, right? And it's a drama horror show. And people are like complaining. They said parents, something was condemning it for being so violent. I was like, this show has almost had worse violence towards characters.
It totally
in this
has.
show.
It had zombies with their like entire skins peeling off. It had that.
I think
kid...
it's for the fact that it's a human doing it to another human and not a zombie. Like, because remember, like the episode where what's her name, Carol, and I forget who else they were kidnapped by those two women, and then they killed killed that redhead, and the redhead was getting her face eaten off at the end. I was like, come on, like that's extremely violent. I think it's because it's Glenn, and Glenn's like a fan favorite for people.
Yeah, I love Glenn. He's my favorite.
And now with this, that means there's no more Asians left in the United States of America. They killed every Asian person in this fucking show. It's like, God, that really is a thing. Because now you know if like one's still write another character. Because even in the comic, I don't think there's been an Asian character since Glenn.
Really?
Which is weird because I'm sure there's plenty of Korean, people. Especially Glenn was Korean. And I'm sure he had family, but I guess I don't know. I guess they just got rid of all the Korean characters.
I'm sure there's a lot of Korean zombies.
Yeah, that's true. Although I haven't seen any on the show, so I haven't seen any Asian. I've seen black and white.
They're in like the deep south. Maybe there's.
I haven't seen any Hispanic ones. Those are the ones that have the shirts that have Hawaiian colors on them and shit like that.
Right.
But there's in the comic book they haven't really introduced any other Asian characters either. So I guess maybe Robert Kirkman had a reason to do this. And I was still waiting to look online. When they interviewed them on The Talking Dead, the show with that guy.
I heard it was a really good episode actually.
Yeah, like it began raining actually. I didn't bother watching because I just don't. It's just that's the way we're doing it. They're doing it and getting paid for it, and we're not.
Yeah, but Glenn was on it. Like I would.
Yeah, but I was waiting. I was hoping for people to write because every time they kill a main character from the show, it's always funny to see people insult Robert Kirkman because it's so fucking funny. Like Robert Kirkman has something to do with it. Obviously, he has something to do with it because he's written how these characters die. Right. And the one where with Beth, the blonde girl Beth. Yeah, and then she's on stage and she's crying, and you can see Robert Kirkman like awkwardly going, "Oh boy," like in his face. Because he doesn't know what to do. Because he probably doesn't. Obviously doesn't know what to do. And then people in the comments are like writing, "That fat fuck Robert Kirkman. Why do you have to kill him?" It's just funny because it's like he's just trying to write a fucking movie. He's not looking actively to put actors out of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a fictional.
If he could, he would throw a wig on that, another actor, the same actor, and make him look different. But
apparently Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was on the Talking Dead, and he was like all nervous because everybody's gonna be me.
Because
people like I heard that like people are mean the Cersei Lannister actress in the streets and shit. It's like
they can't disassociate characters from the fucking actors because people are insane. They have no lives. That's why, if you really think about it, you look at why stars are stars themselves, like why people follow them on Instagram or whatever. You know what I mean? It's because why I always say that life is basically high school after high school because you want the popular kids, and the popular kids are on TV, and you want to live your life through them. So this is basically what they're doing. So they're going to treat Jeffrey Dean Morgan like insane. There was a woman that I think went to go. She met what's his name, Daryl, whatever his name is, the actor.
Yeah.
And she like bid him at a like one of those fan meetups, and they had to like drag her off, and then she said she didn't remember she did it because people are insane. Like I don't understand why you got to bother these people. Who gives a fuck? It's just so whatever. Anyway, back to the episode. The day will come when you won't be. What was this episode about, Danny?
It was basically at first. I guess it was like flashbacks of what happened as far as who got killed and how it led to Rick and him being in a private meeting in a van. But basically, the whole episode is Negan trying to like beat down Rick and scare the shit out of him.
He's essentially dick swinging this whole episode, Negan. And what did you think of Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance as Negan?
I think he's perfect.
Do you think he's better than the governor?
Yeah, I never really got into the governor. I like the governor more in the comic, even though he's basically a cartoon pirate. But
Yeah, they essentially what they try to do with the governor is they try to stretch him. They try to stretch about 7 episodes out of a 2-issue character or a 3-issue character.
Yeah,
and he was much worse in the comic book. He was like he raped Michonne. He did a lot of shit worse in the comic book. But of course they sanitized him and then they made him some.
and
he
she
wasn't
did a lot
evil
worse to him too. She cut off like both of his arms and like his
yeah,
fingers
and I think she cut his dick off too, which would have been a lot more interesting. But imagine that because it's almost like. I can imagine the uproar. They're lucky that they didn't kill any women in this episode. They have no shit to say because they killed 2 guys, probably the most brutal way ever. Well, at least Glenn was brutal. Abraham was sort of off. I really didn't get close to Abraham as a character, just for some reason. In the comic book, I liked him a lot. In the show, I didn't like him.
Abraham actually, but,
and there was obviously Abraham, like he flashes a peace sign to. His girlfriend, what is her name? Played by Soniqua. The girl,
I know. I just can't think of her name either.
Whatever her face is, the hot chick, Sasha.
Rosita.
No, it's Sasha. No, he didn't give a fuck about Rosita. He cheated on Rosita with Sasha.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
So he was flashing his peace sign to her, and they were like, "You're gonna be so sad when you notice this that you missed it." That he flashed Sasha a peace sign. I felt bad for Sasha, obviously, because she did like him, and even Rosita liked him. She's an idiot. She's gonna end up hooking up with another character, but
I don't know if there's gonna be a hooking up lately. Like, I think they're all like really depressed. I don't really know where it's gonna go.
Are you
from
fine
here.
that they killed? Are you fine that they killed Abraham and Glenn?
No, I'm fucking upset about it.
Are you really? Okay.
That's why I stopped reading the comic, because I was like so sad that they killed my favorite character.
Your favorite character was but your favorite characters, like they just constantly killed characters.
Well, no, Glenn was like oh man, like I don't even want to read.
Yeah, Glenn was a nice guy. I mean, I kind of felt like over the series that they sort of. I mean, I liked them, but it sort of seems like they relegated him to just be Lauren Conrad's boyfriend, Maggie's boyfriend, and it was just sort of this boring relationship thing. I don't know. That was just me. I just sort of was like, whatever. But the thing is, I'm bored with a lot of aspects of the show, but I still watch it. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck
I'm probably gonna always watch the show anyway because it's always like at least decent, if not good.
And I still can't get over Carl Grimes' bad acting. Such a bad actor. You love his acting. You're like the greatest.
I don't love his
like the part when they faked about cutting his arm off, and he's like, "It's okay, you can do it." And I was like, "Oh man, like what the hell is this acting?" But whatever. And of course,
I just think he's not that bad. I think he's okay.
Daryl Dixon is gonna feel like real shit because he inadvertently killed Glenn off by trying to jump on Negan, and it was so because of Daryl, and I'm sure he's gonna be going through that throughout this season. He's just gonna be super emo now because he's lost Beth, and then he inadvertently fucked up Glenn, and I'm sure Maggie, if she ever gets to see Daryl again, is gonna be like, "You fucker," you know what I mean? Yeah. I hope not. Well, it's so weird because she was near death already, and then she sort of seemed okay by the end of the episode. I was like, weren't they trying to bring her to the hospital because she was having some sort of, her baby was fucking her up?
She was still sick at the end.
Right, that's true.
When she's trying to walk away.
And an interesting thing they did was that they actually filmed every actor having a death scene, so it didn't spoil the movie. I mean, it spoiled the show.
Yeah.
They actually filmed all their death scenes ahead of time, which I thought was a very smart way to... And then they had the footage, so they were like, fuck it, let's put it in the episode anyway. So they just kept showing... You could tell the death scenes of everybody else was like cheap one takes, though. They just hit him over the head in once. But they did I did see a clip of Maggie's death. It's online somewhere.
I wonder if they knew that they were going to... I knew... They definitely knew Glenn. I mean, because that's in the comic, but I don't know
People were still shocked, though.
Well, I didn't know if they were going to actually go through with it, because they fucking threw us off with a little red herring of Abraham.
With the trash can thing? Yeah, no, I pretty much figured he was going to get killed after they did that trash thing, because I was like, God, they're gonna fuck them. They're going to fuck him real bad. And I was surprised and pretty pleased with how faithful it was to the comic, the way he died, when he says, I love... I think he said in the comics, I love you, while he's dying, and he actually looks... close to how he looked in the comic when his eyeball comes out, and the dialogue is pretty much the same. Like when he's like, oh, he's fucking gross and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in the show he says, "I'll find you" instead of "I love you." So maybe Glenn will come back as a ghost, and that's his character in season 9 when they
he
totally
comes back as a
fuck up
ghost,
the shit.
but he's like a ghost zombie.
No. Imagine he comes back as a ghost, but because it's like it'll be ironic karma. His ghost infiltrates Negan's bat, so it's a bat that flies around with Glenn's voice, and he tries to help everybody. That's the worst joke ever. It's nearly 1. It's 1:00 in the morning here. I think I like the way that they beat down Rick Grimes. I like that he was, I mean, I knew he was. They weren't going to let him cut off his son's hand because that's basically what was supposed to happen to him. But Robert Kirkman has kicked himself in the ass for ever cutting off Rick Grimes' hand. Who knows how the comic would have been different if he never cut off Rick Grimes' hand? Yeah, he says I think that's what I've heard third hand. I have to look that up. But apparently, like, he was pissed off that he cut his hand off so early in the comic because then he was like, "Fuck, I could have done so much more." Different stuff.
Right.
But who knows how the comic would have been different? Maybe they would have been completely different. Maybe they would have found different ways for him to break his wrist every issue. So it would have led to the same sort of storylines. But because in the comic book now he has like a mechanical hand, like not like a robot or something like that, but the hook hand that you put on. Yeah, so he's in a completely different way in the comic. I still can't see how he gets from the show to the comic book, so I assume they're just going to not even go with the way they do because he's
this
sort
is
of
where
peacenik.
I'm completely in the dark now because usually I knew at least a little, but I know nothing now.
Yeah, he's in a totally different way that I can't see on this show how he would get to that. I really would not know how to do it because he's sort of like a peaceful leader now. So and I'm like, And from the comic book, that's where he goes from there to there. From where this comic from this episode to where he is now is like how he goes from that sort of vengeful, crazy man into a peaceful leader. But I really can't see them doing that with the show. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck they would do it. I mean, they've gone with getting rid of Carl's face.
Well, he's not going to be.
Like
he's not going to be trying violence anytime soon.
Yeah, he won't. But they're going to be introducing, which I'm very afraid of, is there's a character. I guess he never saw him. Maybe he did see him in the comic book.
I know the guy with the tiger or whatever, but
yeah, and that tiger looks like one of the worst graphics I've ever seen. So I'm really worried about that. But I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll just show the tiger's shadow most of the time, and and it'll be the guy talking about the tiger off screen. You can see my tiger right there, and then you hear like old 1940s sound effects of like fucking tiger.
It's like Roger Rabbit, like they have a cartoon tiger,
and they can't even afford it because of the budget, so they put in the fucking the tiger from like He-Man or something like that. It's just really bad animation. I don't know, we're going off the rails here. I think I like the way that it worked out. I mean, I think it was basically, it was an hour of suffering on television. Like, it really was like a really depressing and dark show. I mean, the show is really depressing for the most part. Yeah. But, I mean, I've never seen an hour of regular TV where it was basically, this was like torture porn television. Like, it really was like...
It was pretty
feel
disturbing.
Miserable TV.
It was disturbing, for certain.
So I can imagine people at home just watching, going, Jesus, why do I watch this? I'm going to feel miserable. It's basically they were punishing every character, but it was a good setup to make Negan one of the huge scumbags. But the thing is, in the comic book, he's still around.
He's a way bigger scumbag than the governor, though.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to even picture how they will be able to keep him alive in the series, the TV show, because at a standpoint as it is, the way that he's treated all these characters, how would they make him turn around to be likable? Because he's supposed to be likable. I'm sure he is likable to some people.
Game of Thrones does it.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, there were points in Game of Thrones where I was rooting for Cersei to kill all the religious guys. But
yeah,
that's
me too.
How we were. That's how you bring an even bigger asshole character than him. And there's other villain characters that come in after Negan, but the conflict between Negan and Rick in the comics are essentially just Negan versus Rick, and the other villains come after. So I mean, they have to have this confrontation and this ending.
I just don't know
how it works out.
I don't know where it can go if Negan is way more powerful than all of them. Like, how can
it's weird because Rick was essentially Negan by the end of season 5. By season 5, remember when he goes to Alexandria and he's like shooting. He's like trying to fuck that guy's wife, and he's like going into town shooting at people and shit like that. He was essentially what Negan is, but without the power.
Negan's way worse though.
I'm saying it because Negan had power and people to follow him. Rick was just like, just does it. You know what I mean? He tried to do it, and he does that acting where he looks off camera somewhere else, and then he starts talking. That's what he does.
Yeah, but Rick was never like doing it like to be evil, you know, like.
Yeah, but he's doing it to, and I don't think Negan is doing it for evil either. I think he's doing it for order, but he's just doing it in a way where it's like a fucking a despot, like a total, like an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whatever. I missed. Actually, I don't know if I missed anything. I was fine. I wish we had some Morgan in there, but he's busy.
Yeah, what are him and Carol? What are they doing? I forgot.
They're in that other place with Mr. Tiger Man. They're hanging out with him.
Right.
Remember they got picked up by the guy with the ninja suits or whatever the fuck they were wearing.
So they have no idea about this.
Yeah, they have no idea. I guess in a couple episodes everybody will be seeing and finding out what's going on. That girl still doesn't know that her girlfriend Denise has got an arrow through the fucking eye. I don't know how they're gonna even make, because in the comic books, Dwight is a good guy. So I mean, I really don't know, because Dwight is treating. Here's the thing, because like you can have Dwight. Let's say Dwight will become a good guy. Let's say
help Daryl escape.
No, but Daryl's gonna fucking try to kill him because he killed that girl. He stole his fucking motorcycle. He took his jacket and he took his arrow. You think Daryl's gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, you're a good guy, and they're just gonna hang out? No, Daryl is the only one here that will be like, I'll kill everybody. Like, he'll kill him. He'll kill Negan. He definitely wants to kill Negan. He doesn't like forgive people. He will kill them. You know what I mean? So he's sort of like a character that you can't control in this show, and I can't see him going, yeah, that'll be fine. You know what I mean? At least if they try in the like they did in the comic, they'll try to turn Rick around so he's some sort of quasi pacifist because he wants to bring normalcy back to, you know, being a human being in this fucked up world. But Daryl's like, you know, he's a second build guy in the show, and I don't think they're gonna fuck him over. So it's weird. It brings a dynamic that's not in the comic. In the show, it's weird.
Yeah, well,
the closest thing to Daryl is. It's making me want
to read the comic now.
You should. I think you should. You've only got 900 issues you can read, but it's actually fun to see, you know, to read the comic and then see what happens in the show and see what they do. It's interesting. I actually suggest reading the comic if you can. It diverged a lot actually diverged from the first issue, but I would suggest reading the comic just because and they changed enough.
60 issues behind.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought it was good. I think it was a real depressing hour, but I thought it was done really well. I like how stylized it was. I'm used to the show now, so it's sort of like watching a soap opera that I've been watching for years, like people that watch One Life to Live, I guess, and As the World Turns. But I'm used to it, so I guess I would give this opening episode. It was stronger. Last season was very good, except for that season finale for me. So I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Oy vey. Suck my nuts.
Okay. I'm gonna give this.
Suck my nuts.
I was very impressed. I'm gonna give it like a 9. No, like an 8.5 out of 10. You know, pop out somebody's eyeball in front of their pregnant wife. And,
Oof, that was pretty bad.
After she's lost her sister, her entire family, etc.
You think they'll have Steven Yeun come back with a video again like he did last time? Remember when they did that fake death for him, and he had to give a fucking apology video to the fans? You know, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you guys care about me. They're gonna do that again, but he's gonna have his actual eyeballs hanging out. So yeah, 7 out of 10 hanging out. If he
comes, no, 8.5 out of 10. If he comes out of back as a ghost, I'm very sad though. I love that guy.
Yeah, I felt bad. Like when I first saw it, I was like, okay, they killed him. Good for the. You know, they had the balls to do it. And then when I was watching some girl's react video on YouTube, I was like, oh yeah, I feel kind of bad for this character. I was like, oh well. Anyway, with that, especially when he's with the family, and you see him with the baby at the long table, and you see Abraham there. Mm-hmm. Oh well. Goodbye, Glenn. It was good having you
Glenn.
around.
It was nice.
Racist Robert Kirkman with his white power ways, getting rid of the scumbag.
What is his real name? Stephen Yeun. Okay.
Stephen Yeun. So now Stephen Yeun could go look for a job. Maybe he'll be, mopping the floors of the
no, I was just
production
gonna say,
offices.
like, I'm trying to look it up really quick. I saw he might be in something.
He should be in stuff. He's a good actor. And he started out in, like, comedy and stuff. Have you ever seen him on, like, talk shows? He's a very funny guy, so hopefully they'll give him more shit to do.
There was just a rumor that he was gonna be in, like, some comic book movie. I just can't remember what one.
Very good. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
iPad screen open anus star.
The horror deconstruction.